My guest is Rosalind Amos. She's Vice Chairperson of the Women's League Board, and we're talking women football here in our country. Good morning to you. Thanks for your time.
Good morning, Mama V. Thanks for having me.
The women have been playing, actually, but we don't seem to hear a lot. We've been in action. Something is happening.
Yes, we've been playing since 1993. And so it's sometimes quite intriguing when people say they don't know that women's football is going on in Ghana. We were the first senior team to qualify for the World Cup in 1999, and we've been consistent at that World Cup, Women's World Cup. So, unfortunately, we don't have big voices. We don't have the support that we usually will get from everybody in Ghana. So sometimes it makes it look as if women's football has just started, but we've been in action since 1993.
And we actually do well.
Yes, in recent times, every tournament we try to qualify. It's important to qualify for those international tournaments first, and then when you go, you try to do well. As recently as in 2012, the maidens went and they won bronze at the Under-17 Women's World Cup. The next appearance in 2014, they were fourth. So consistently we are there. I think what we need now is the support and the push. That will also, thanks to TV, and social media now, the noise about women's football is louder. You are able to see more images. So it's attracting people, but I think we have not done enough as a country.
Why do we seem to have a challenge with sponsorship? Because if the ladies are equally as important as the men, and they tend to do well.
Well, apart from being an administrator, I'm also a journalist, so I try as much as possible to find out and research. One of my research work that I did was why there was no support for women's football all over the world. And it looks like, we still live in a men's world. That is what it says. So the men call the big shots at most of the decision-making points where you need to decide how much you want to pump into any activity. And for such levels, you probably will have a board to make a decision, and there are only 2 women on it, 7 against 2 if you have a 9-member board. So invariably, you have the men always calling the shots. It starts right from the top at FIFA down to the member associations and to the individual countries. Those who are lucky to have resources and to have money try to pump money into it. When you go to South Africa, women's football sponsorship is almost as huge as the men. When you go to Equatorial Guinea, they have just started and they're also pumping money into it. But for those of us who have other social, things calling for the same attention, we don't seem to have that financial support for women's football, and that is how it has been. For 20 years, we've been knocking on the doors of corporate Ghana to support women's football, even if not for the national teams, just for grassroots, so that we can have more girls playing to develop and build up the talent basket. We haven't had anything. GNPC came on board, Black Queens have been there. GNPC came on board and said, okay, we want to do Black Stars. And the proposal was, can we even bring the Black Queens along? But they said, no way. The sponsorship was for the Black Stars. So, you
So
can't...
is it your proposal that hasn't been attractive or what?
No, people come in and you even want to sell the idea. They don't even want to look at the proposal. They are more interested in the Black Stars because they think everybody supports the Black Stars. They think that, I don't know what else they mean by mileage, but because the Black Queens are also doing well, and the other national teams are also doing well. But yet, even for those who deal with female products, those who deal in female products, you go to them and they tell you, well, if you want to, I don't know what I'm going to benefit from sponsoring it. And I get sad because I tell them, if you have the ladies patronizing your products, it is enough. They also give good word about it. And the little that you give them, you may not have to give very huge amounts like you do for the senior national team, but just that little bit to push them. For instance, you want to even travel to go and play an international friendly. the government says, I don't have money to support that. So you go look for sponsorship and there is no money. So what happens? If your opponent or the person inviting you to come and play does not provide the tickets and all those things needed, then it means that you have to cancel that appointment.
How important is it for us to get a sponsor for the Women's League?
Mama, it is very crucial, not just important. Unfortunately, in women's football, you do not transfer players for huge sums. You can't even transfer players. If you are lucky and an European club decides to show interest in your player and they come for them, the most that the club is likely to get is $10,000. That means the player is a World Cup material, like the Adjoa Bayos and co. But if it is an ordinary budding star, the most you are likely to get is $5,000.
For a transfer?
For a transfer for a female player. And so what will you do with $5,000 when you have groomed the player, raised her throughout her young age up to that point? And then for those who are unlucky to have their players poached to the universities in the US, they don't even get anything because the players are being offered scholarships. So it is important for us to, if we want to develop and promote women's football, it is important for us to have sponsorship for the league, because from the leagues, then the players are on earth and then they are groomed for the national teams. Otherwise, they will come and go. Clubs are being disbanded because the owners do not even have money to prepare them for camping, for matches. As we speak, the league is kicking off this weekend, and the information.
We still don't have a sponsor.
We don't have, and even for the clubs, just the support, that little support that they need. Somebody just called me as I was coming here and said, well, they are still hoping that somebody would come and give them 2,000 cedis. If not, they cannot travel to go and honor their away match this weekend. That is how bad it is. Teams traveling from their region to another place, another venue to honor away matches, preparing even the team. This week, everybody wants to prepare the team. They are only able to do 3 days of training because that is what they can afford. Every day when the girls come, you need to give them some allowances. They don't have the budget for it, so they slash the number of days just so they can make the money and prepare for the matches.
But this is surprising because marketing companies would use women to go and look for sponsorship, and this is an all-female event. So why wouldn't they want to come on board?
Mama, I think also that culturally, our cultural beliefs plays a role in what is happening. For a very long time, everybody thought that football was a men's game.
Yeah.
So even parents would not encourage their daughters to play football. And it is that mentality that is still haunting us. People are willing to probably watch it, but they are not willing to put their money in there.
How many people watch it? Do you think a lot of us watch it?
Not many. If you compare the numbers to the figures we have at the stadium, when even we are playing for free, not many people come, and that is quite, I remember the biggest number we had was on 14th February 2004, when we played Nigeria in that Olympic qualifier. We had a full house, and since that time, you will be lucky to have half the stadium full. In Tamale, when the Black Queens went last year, the numbers were quite good. So sometimes I also think that maybe in Accra and Kumasi, we take women's football for granted. Not many people come to watch. But when you go to Kumasi, you go to Tamale, you go to Sekondi, and the ladies are playing. For Sekondi Hazakes, they have as many people turning up as they would probably turn up to watch their men's side play.
So maybe before we look at the sponsorship bits, we have to look at how we can make it attractive, women football in Ghana. Have we thought about that?
Yes, I think in the past, many people thought we were playing for fun. So that attention was not given to it. But now that we've realized that we also need to bridge that gap and make them know that, it is a livelihood for the girls who take part in those things. This year, what we are trying to do is to take it up at the grassroots level. So we are encouraging and we are talking to people in the local communities to support the teams. For every region, there is a club. We have 10 regions, and for the league, in every region at least there is one club, apart from Volta and Upper West, Upper East, and the Eastern region that are not represented. All the other regions have clubs playing in the league.
Okay.
So what we are trying to do is to ask the local community to support, adopt the club as their home club and support it, provide whatever sponsorship or support they can provide for them. And then from there, it's the first time that we are doing that, we want to see how it will go in the first round, and then we will build upon that. And I also think that in the past, the GFA marketing unit had not been very strong. Because even now the men are also struggling with sponsorship. But if you have a vibrant, very articulate and active marketing department, that shouldn't be a problem, because for us, we only administer and make sure we manage well. Getting the sponsorship and the support, financial support, is the marketing unit. And so we need to have a very strong. What has always happened is that you have individual people with marketing background and expertise coming around. You don't have a full-time marketing person saying that I am strategizing to win this. Yes, you can have the committee, but you need somebody who works full-time there to make sure that he comes up with all the strategies and the plans to go out and secure the sponsorship for them.
This is how I want us to end this conversation. Somebody is watching, they are linked to one business or the other. They feel that they can help with the sponsorship. How do they do it?
Yes, they can contact the FA, and sometimes it doesn't happen, but I would be glad if the person is able to contact the acting general secretary of the Ghana Football Association. And once that person says that I want to give it to women's football, some of us will be called to have the initial meeting and discussions with them. And I think we can pick it up from there. We need especially the water companies, the water producing companies, because football, you're taking a lot of water and the teams travel around and they don't have anything. The oil companies, how do we call it? Yes, the oil marketing companies, if they could even provide coupons for the team so that when they are traveling, they can only fuel their buses. I think it is also part of the problem solved, and we will be grateful. And more importantly, for those in the communities, try and go and watch their matches. And when you go, you don't pay gate fees. But if you're able to even contribute 1 cedi, 2 cedis to the team every week when they play home, I think you'll be also making some meaningful contribution to them, because then they can use those monies that they've put together to take care of their camping needs.
Sure. Okay. We can, if I have any links, I can also contact you, right?
No problem at all.
Because when you said the water, I thought, okay, we should be able to give the ladies water.
Yes.
All right. But I thank you for your time this morning. And I think that our show also spent a lot more time. We're also guilty talking women's football. This is like the first time in a very long while. So we'll also dedicate some time to even be reviewing the games.
I think the weekend, it's starting this weekend. So I'm sure the sports units would always feed you with the information and the results. Another thing that we are introducing to make women's football more vibrant is the knockout competition. So this season, we are going to have the league as well as the knockout competitions. And anytime you call on us to come and also talk about it, our doors are always open.
We will. Benedict Owusu is our man. He's our link, so we will.
I'm very pleased for you to have hosted us.
Thank you. I'm happy that you could make it. Thanks a lot. That's my guest, Rosalind Amoh. She's Vice Chairperson of the Women's League Board, and she's also a journalist with the Daily Graphic. On Talk this morning, our guests all set. We've got big issues to break down with Roland Walker. Stay with us. This is the AM Show.